critical approaches to design, and we are going to be talking. We are going to talk about the crisis that was hit at an Aboriginal land, and we are also going to inform you about the area and its people, so that you get a better overview of the same. Our main topic for today is going to be the power outage in Groot Island, which is a part of the Groot archipelago island. And we Luca, please take over.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Luca. So today we will talk about you can see the framework. First of all is a geographical overview. After that is demographics, and after that is social and economic factors and the history and the heritage. And last one we will introduce the crisis. So first of all, let me introduce the geographic overview. Today we will talk about the Groot Island is unequally has a very diverse environment with pristine beaches, spring water, swimming holes, open land, and rainforest, and the red sand dunes, and the aqua waters and rock art, which is thousands of years old. So Groot is the largest island in the group of Carpentaria, and the fourth largest island in Australia. So it was named by the explorer Abel Tasman in 1644, and is Dutch for large island in Aric spelling. The modern Dutch spelling is Groot Island. So there are 7 indigenous communities in the Groot Island. The largest community are Agrugu and Anbakruma, located on the Groot Island. And Miyakuba are located on the Big Groot Island. In addition, there are 4 stadios communities located close mainstream service and for culturally significant reasons. These include 4 Mile, Malkala, and Little Barrens, and the Palabuna Bay. So the language of the archipelago is generally known as Anidi Yakawa, and referred to by its speakers as Amamalaya and Ayakawa. So it's a complex language and one of the few Australian indigenous language that is still spoken shortly through its communities. Yeah. So after our research, we have 4 elements about this form. First of all is total population. For this community, there are 1,574 peoples. Almost 5% male and female, and after that is age. Mostly is between 25 and 34 years old people, about 19.7%. And secondly is between 5 and 14 years old people, about 13.7%. And the last one is 65 years and over people, only have 2.8%. And the culture, the language spoken, they use English only at home. Just have 3.7%, and for the Australian indigenous language, just have the 1.3%. And for the healthy, they have some mental health condition, about 1.7% people, and catalyst disease about 1.4% people, and a little few cancer. Yeah.
So, talking about the social and economic factors that reside among the land. Now, obviously, the land. The Groot Island is one of the few lands which actually belong to the people, the indigenous people of the land. Now, obviously, there is the government of Northern Territory involved in the governance of the land. But apart from that, there is another council which is responsible for the administration and looking after the land, which is the ALC, which is the Anildria Aqua Land Council, the which looks after the betterment and development and the administration of the land. So there are a number of things which come under the ALC apart from looking after the people of the land, which includes the management of the land and protection of the traditional owners and interests. Now the land has a number of occupations such as mining as well, and the tourism is also present in the land. So it's important that the tourism and the occupations don't worsen the quality of the land and its people, and the whole culture as a whole is protected, which also includes protection of sacred sites, the supervision of the land, and control over the non-indigenous people using the land for research purposes or development purposes or any other purposes per se. So the ALC looks after the land and its people, and it also makes sure that it's developing. It also has a huge hand in the infrastructure of the land, which includes construction of roads, construction of educational centers and hospitals. Mainly, it also protects and preserves the culture of the land, which includes protecting the arts, protecting the sacred space, and protecting other spaces where non-indigenous people are not allowed to go, because the land is also home of a lot of endangered marine species. So it is important that the land council protects the same. Now talking a bit about the history of the land, which gives us a better insight in how the people of the land are. The land has mainly two cultures, which is the Wanandiliakwa people, and who have been there for around 8,000 years, and the Nugubuyu people, and who came in later. And as we saw earlier, there are total 7 to 8 communities residing in the areas now. The language of these cultures is the Anildiliakwa, and they are also commonly referred as the Anildiliakwa people. And so there are total five main timestamps for the land, which is the 1623, when the first recorded non-indigenous person visited the land, which was William Van Coulstert. The second one was 1644, which was Abel Tasman. The 1803, which was Matthew Flinders, and finally the 1976, which was also a very important year for the land, which was when the people of the land got the ownership back. And finally in 1991, ALC took over as the main sort of governance council for the land, and since then they have been looking after the land. Now we'll talk a bit about the culture. Mingyang, please take over. You're on mute, Mingyang.
So the Andiaqua people have a rich cultural heritage that trace back to their origins on Groot Island. According to their dreaming stories, they were brought to the island through a series of sunlights that shaped the land, rivers, animals, and people. These stories also established important aspects of their society, such as the naming conventions, rules of marriage, kinship, and the ceremonial practice. The correct indigenous population of the Groot archipelago is a blend of two cultures, the Wandiaka, and who have inhabited Groot Island of thousands of years, and the Nugubuyu, who migrate from the mainland in the 18th century. Through intermarriage and shared ceremony participation, these two groups have formed a cohesive collective culture, and the ceremony beliefs hold significant importance in the lives of the indigenous people of the archipelago. Their thinking and behaviors are heavily influenced by their traditions. The Wandiaka and the Nukupuyo communities are united by a common kinship system. Considering themselves as part of extended family, they follow strict rules and guidelines that govern their relationships and daily interactions. And then we just go on for next page. It's about the crisis. So why we are focusing on this part is it's because according to the news in the February 2020s, the Aboriginal people in Great Archipelago, Australia, faced difficulties during a power outage that lasted nearly 3 days. They lacked the supplies and did not receive support from emergency service. And some resorted to breaking into houses in search of food. The power outage and the lack of government assistance led to feeling of sickness, anger, hungry, and being forgotten among the indigenous community. The outage affected 8 small communities in the archipelago, rendering them unable to access telephone service, the internet, electricity payment systems, and cash. So they cannot get their food, the flu. That's really difficult for them.
Now we will talk about the existing.
So the Anidiakwa people have an unequal arch style and a long history of consisting with the local environment. It is a circle to respect the traditions and lifestyle while design solutions that meeting their energy needs. There are conflicts between the Anidiakwa and other communities, which can create competition for resources and including the energy. The goal is to provide a reliable energy supply to elevate resources competition and promote camaraderie amongst the Anidiakwa. Displacement and resources confliction have arisen due to military exploitation, and particularly between the Manakaria and Amagra clans. In design solutions, we think it is necessary to conduct thorough research and identify and address spatial problems and enhance intent design with spatial features and the methods. Conflicts between residents over resources and energy shortages are potential challenges to consider. So moreover, considering the impact of natural disasters is vital, required a deep understanding of local water and geographical data to incorporate these factors into the design. So we think Anidiakwa people need more stable energy input and a product with basic life support, which is necessary. Yeah.
All right. So as we saw that there are two existing crisis response frameworks in place, which is the Land and Sea Rangers and the Crude Island Local Emergency Plan. Now the plan is a very detailed plan which lays out all the scenarios and all the dangers and all the emergency plans that could be executed during the time of that particular crisis. So I would just like to highlight on some key areas of the plans, and then some of the control centers and some of the managers that the land can call and land can ask help from during the time of crisis. Now the only point the main point that I would like to highlight from this slide is the Web EOC. Web EOC is the Web Emergency Operations Center, which is a very important factor to talk about, as it is a system which constantly monitors the area, and which is very helpful during the time of in crisis, because it helps the government and helps the people involved to make a better decision and give faster help to those in need during the time of in crisis. The other thing that I would like to talk about during this is the plan. The plan has been laid out, and the emergency plan has been laid out since 2017-2018, but our crisis happened in 2020, which also caused a lot of distress despite of the plan being so detailed. Now now we'll talk about the stages of the execution of the crisis response, which is there are mainly 5 stages, which are alert, standby, activation, stand down, and recovery. So obviously the starts with alert when the crisis happens. I will be using the example of our crisis, which is the power shortage crisis for this. So obviously people need to be alerted, including the government and the ALC council, so everyone is up to speed as to what has hit the land. Which the next step is standby, which also involves calming down people and making sure that they feel safe. The other stage is activation, where obviously measures have to be taken in response to the crisis. The last second stage is stand down, which is obviously a lot of waiting before the crisis passes away. And finally it's recovery, how smoothly the people can be transitioned from the state of crisis to their normal lives. And finally the conclusion.
Yeah, so in this study, we examined the issues faced by the Andiaqua people in the Groote Archipelago region. In February 2020, a 3-day widespread power outage left the indigenous population in Groote Island without assistance, unable to use phones, access the internet, make card payments for food or fuel, or withdraw cash from banks. The lack of government support causes the sick, angry, hungry, and forgotten. Considering the terrain of the region, we proposed the design of an emergency power system, specifically to the local indigenous community, aiming to help them maintain a normal life during power shortage. Yeah, that's all.
These are our references and source lists. And lastly, we would like to thank all the Andiaqua people and the indigenous people of the land, and especially ALC, for providing us with so much data and rich information to help our research on the topic. And that's it. We are Group 2, and thank you so much for listening to the presentation.